Welcome back to the Extra Zone Arcade. We're coming up on 8 long years since the release of Super Mario Odyssey, the latest 3D Mario game. Sounds weird to say latest considering the fact that it's almost been a decade. But with so much time having passed since that game, and with Switch 2 rumours, speculation and leaks getting more and more prevalent, now is the perfect time to think about what's next. More specifically, what do I personally want to see out of this next entry into the series? Well, stick around to the end to get my full thoughts and be sure to leave your own down in the comments. Let's do this! Before we get into any specific details, I think we should first talk about what type of 3D Mario this could be, as there's a lot more nuance to it than you might realise. The first type would be the Sandbox Collectathon. The games in this style are Mario 64, Sunshine, and Odyssey. Typically, this gameplay style revolves around you traversing a small open-ended environment and completing mission objectives to get collectibles. These collectibles being your main tool for progression that are tied to the game's plot. These 3 games are the best example of this, and while Sunshine in particular has more to set it apart from the other 2, they share the most common ground between them. Odyssey is really just an expanded 64 at the end of the day, so not much to elaborate on there. The second type is the Linear Collectathon, consisting of the Galaxy duology. Progression and gameplay is generally similar to the Sandbox Collectathon, but with much more structured and straightforward level design. The next type of game goes even further with the linear design. Let's call them 2D structured 3D games, which are games that play in a 3D space but have levels designed akin to a 2D Super Mario entry. Examples of this are Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World. Collectibles are still required for progression, but the levels are built like obstacle courses where you have to make your way to a set goal. The fourth and final type is the most recent, which I'm just going to call Open World Collectathon. This style debuted in the Bowser's Fury mode of the Super Mario 3D World Switch port, and is essentially just an expanded version of the Sandbox Collectathon seen before. What sets this apart is the emphasis on traversal and environmental challenges. Another close comparison to this gameplay style actually doesn't come from a Mario game, and yes, I'm talking about Sonic Frontiers again. Frontiers is designed and structured a lot like Bowser's Fury, but it has multiple Bowser's Furies in one game. Since this next Mario game is going to have to be a full experience, it'll need more than just one level/map, so I can see them doing something similar to Frontiers' open zones. Now that we've established that, what do I think they're going to go with? Well, conveniently, it's actually the one I want to see the most. The Open Zone Collectathon. It just feels like the most natural evolution for 3D Mario post-Odyssey, and I've gone on record saying that the gameplay we got in Bowser's Fury has so much potential to be its own full game. Imagine 4 to 6 maps of a similar size and amount of content to that one map in Bowser's Fury. That sounds like a winning formula to me. And hey, like I also said, Sonic made it work, so Mario definitely can. So, now that I have my gameplay formula decided, what features will it have? I think this next game's gimmick should be something they've tried before. Now, I know that sounds very not Nintendo, but I have some ways to make it more appealing. Multiple playable characters. To date, the only 2 3D Mario platformers to have that as a focus are 64DS and 3D World. I think they should attempt it again with the expanded character moveset that Mario has now, and really show off the other playable characters' abilities in a way we haven't seen before. I think 4 playable characters is fair, since that's usually the standard, and the first 3 characters should be Mario, Luigi, and Peach. They're the most established by now, so there won't need to be a ton of work done in translating them to this style. Mario is Mario, we all know how he rolls at this point. He'll pretty much have his Odyssey moveset: triple jump, wall jump, spin jump, long jump, ground pound and ground pound hop, dive, backflip, side flip, and roll. All characters will have some variation of these moves. Luigi will have his signature higher jumps and low traction, focusing more on verticality than his brother. In 64DS he actually couldn't wall jump, so we could do a little something like that here. To make up for it, he could get something like a bounce move that's momentum based. Peach would be the slowest of everyone, but she's also essentially the easy mode with her ability to float. You could make her even better for horizontal platforming with a parasol glide move. The 4th character is where things get a bit tricky. Toad is normally the 4th character in this lineup, but personally I don't think he'd be interesting enough to put in here. Though I do think we should go for a speedy character for the 4th. That rules out Wario, who was playable in 64DS, not to mention the fact that he hasn't shown up in a mainline game since his literal first appearance. Then again, that didn't stop Daisy from getting into Wonder on the 2D side. Maybe we should have him. But then again, there's also Yoshi, who would be super interesting to play as in 3D again. He fills the role of a fast character and has a ton of unique abilities from the flutter jump to the egg laying and shooting. I feel like he would be a good choice, but I also think we need something new. That's right, I think this game should do something that no other 3D Mario game has done. Introduce a new character as a playable one. I think this would be a great way to add on to Mario's cast with a memorable character, someone who you really get to go on a journey with. On top of being a faster character, you could give them a wholly unique ability like teleportation that could be used to solve puzzles. Nintendo would obviously come up with something much more creative than I could, but you get the picture. So, I think that's what I want to see. Mario, Luigi, Peach, and a new character all being playable would really spice things up. After the movie, I think it makes sense for Mario to share the spotlight and give the others their chance to shine in a gameplay style we haven't seen yet. For the game's setting, they'll probably have it take place in a new location. Maybe it'll be set on a different island, different planet, or even a different universe if they really want to go big with it. Personally, I want to see a smaller scope adventure this time to really emphasize the character of where we are. I really like the Flower Kingdom from Mario Wonder, which really changed up the typical theming we get in 2D Mario. So something with creative and eye-catching areas like that would be a good sell. Each of the maps will also have variation in them, like let's say there's a big city map. You could put a Coney Island style fairground in there and have one of the mission objectives be to navigate a funhouse mirror room. Another mission in the city itself could be to hitch a ride on a helicopter to get from one location to another. I also want this world to have a little more cohesion. That's a bit more atypical for Mario, but I think having a solid narrative or structural through line for each location could go a long way to making it feel more realized. That said, we should still keep some of the more fantastical elements we're all used to by now. Wonder is one of the best Mario games because of that sense of whimsy and not knowing what might happen next, so we should maintain elements of that. Aesthetically, I'd like to see a more stylized approach this time. I love how Mario and Luigi Brothership looked. They absolutely nailed the cel-shaded style in that game, so I'd love to see them try that for the next 3D Mario. Unlike Brothership, I think it would make sense to base it off of the Kotabe/Nakayue 2D illustrative style. Now, do I think they'll do this? Hell no. Most likely we'll get a similar art direction to Odyssey, just prettier. Thinking about the evolution of 3D Mario graphics and art styles, it's been a pretty linear upward trend. I'd be totally fine with that, don't get me wrong, but this is a wishlist video and I'm an absolute for cel shading. For the threat of this game, Bowser would be fine, but I think a new villain could also do a lot to shake things up. Maybe have the Koopa King be a menace for the majority of the game, and then reveal the true final boss once more of the journey is done. During the final fight, we could have an Odyssey moment where you get to play as Bowser, who could be more combat focused and thus better for defeating enemies. Then, you could unlock him as a secret 5th character that can be used in some of the post-game stuff. Yeah, I'm getting real ambitious now. But then again, this game has probably been in development for at least 6 years, so I'm sure they're cooking something absolutely insane. And on that note, I'd like to end this video by saying I do not expect any of this to happen. Nintendo is extremely unpredictable, literally never let them know your next move in video game company form. This next Mario game could be something completely different to anything we've seen before. That's what makes all this speculation fun. It's just seeing how horribly wrong we got it, but then loving what they ended up doing all the same. No matter what, that reveal is going to be coming sooner rather than later, and I can tell you that as soon as we do get it, I'm going to be there on the front lines. If you like this video and want to see more, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. We cover all things Mario, and next month onward is dedicating to looking back at all the mainline Mario games that got us to this point. In the meantime, the next video will also probably be centered around the Switch 2, so keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you there. Also, just realized after writing and reading this over that I basically just asked for Mario Frontiers.